Greetings, folks. This is Timmy here with SmythOS. And so I submitted this app called Secret Email. And there's another video on this page that shows what the app does. So in this video, we're going to talk about how I made it. So it's going to be a bit longer, but it's going to be an overview because there is a full-length, raw, like unedited, many hours of me struggling to build this thing that, you can watch for fun. It'll be edited a bit for to really get into the nitty gritty. But here's an overview. So this is my original plan document here, and essentially, like, we're not even putting stripe yet. Essentially, like, this is the parts. These are the parts. You have SmythOS as the backend. You have Supabase as the database. You have Lovable as the front end. You also have Clay here. Clay is a tool that is also part of the backend. Now, the idea for this app, essentially, without getting too into details, because I know most of the folks watching this are not going to be in this category of really the original genesis of the idea. Essentially, there are many companies that use this tool called Clay, and Clay is like this interesting tool that you can make. It's sort of like spreadsheets, but the columns can be powered by AI. So whatever, these are public anyway. And so you have this table here that you can power any kind of, like, a bunch of columns with AI, which is pretty cool. It's very interesting. So the genesis of the idea was, what if I can make an app that shows the front end, and then this is powered in the back end? And I've successfully done that here. So this is powering one of the features of the app, and then you also have the second part of the app, or just the other part of the app, which is an email sending tool. It's very basic, I know, but it's pretty cool because I've used some AI blocks here to make sure that the emails being sent are safe to send, because I'm using a tool here in the app that uses a domain that I own that is in the from address when you send an email. So I have a safety validator in here, and I successfully got this to work, and I'm pretty proud because I'm a no-coder. Okay, so how did I do this? So this is one part of the app. This is the second backend, and these are basically hidden for users that are just using the app, which is pretty powerful. If you're doing this via code and sort of manually, it's like, wow. I'm not a coder, but being able to see visually, like, this is, I have my debugging options. I can see, I can test everything. It's pretty crazy. Like, the power I'm able to wield with these tools is pretty nuts. So again, the big three here are Lovable, SmythOS, and essentially Supabase is the database here. It used to be called Anytable, but this is the old name. I don't feel like changing it because I think that's going to change something. So I'm just not going to change it for now. This is in the backend anyway. It doesn't matter. Honestly, there was a lot of frustration. Like, many times I got really stuck and was just like wanting to hit my head through the screen, right? But you can see, like, by how small this by this. Hang on. Where's my buttons here? Yeah, why is it not working? Oh, here we go. By this, you see how small this is? It's like, there's a lot of I think I used like 150 Lovable credits, by the way. Yeah. Anyway, and you don't have to use Lovable. You can use Bolt or any tools, by the way. Quick promotion here. Go to deals@smythos.com, and you can see that there's many apps that you can use in tandem, in combination with your app when you're going to build something in SmythForge. We have in here Blink, which is like similar to Lovable. I thought Blink was in here. Hang on. Okay, I was thinking of Bolt. Okay, so we have Bolt in here. Bolt.new. Hang on. What happened to Bolt? Okay, Replit. Okay, so we got Replit in here. You can get the first month free. So you could use Replit. If you're already using Bolt or Blink, there's a bunch of them at this point, right? Um, and while I didn't directly use any of those, I mean, I've used Replit before. You could use any of those in combination. As the front end AI builder, or if you're a coder, you can obviously just use Cursor Winds or whatever, right? You can code whatever you want. And then you have all these other 224 also other apps and free deals that you can get in here. So sign up here. How do you sign up for here? Go into your Smith Forge, go to Profile Benefits, and you'll see a link to that in here, right here. Bam. Okay, anyway, promotion over. Anyway, so how did I build this? Okay, so to start, going all the way to the beginning, I'm not going to go through every second here, right? But the initial setup, okay. So at first I built a clay table. At first I said, okay, what do I want to do? I want to take, what inputs do I want to have? And I very simply said, okay, I just want to make it as simple as possible for the user. I just want to input LinkedIn URLs, okay? So we have LinkedIn URLs here, and then we have this waterfall enrichment feature here that essentially goes and it scours a lot of public databases that have already found where this person's email has been somewhere out on the internet, okay? And so that's the middle part. And once that was working, then I'm like, okay, cool. Now the point is I wanted to have it so that, let's log in here. So that this feature would just be, you just put the LinkedIn URL in, press a button, and then you get an output, right? So pressing this button is an API call, right? So we have a webhook here. So this area here, the table is listening for the webhook from this button click in here, right? On this button click. And then it will, and this table is ready to hear for this, waiting for this webhook. And then it will pass across the LinkedIn URL, and then it will process and this is actually more API calls, right? It embedded into this table here. So this is going to run a bunch of, so I'll open this up. So this is actually running multiple API calls to other services. This is called Forager. This is an email validator, etc. So this is actually multiple API calls embedded in just this one column that's sort of under the hood. Now we could just build this out manually ourselves, but that's one of the reasons why people use Clay, is that these API connections are actually already in here, which is pretty interesting. And then lastly, once there's an output, if there's an output, there is an HTTP API. I think this is a post, right? A post type, and here you have the endpoint. And this is a Supabase edge function that it's posting to the Supabase edge function. So what does that mean? If you don't know what that means, you're gonna have to, I can't teach you it now. I can't say that I really totally understand it anyway because I was vibe coding, but I did tell Lovable to deploy a Supabase edge function that is connecting Lovable to here, okay? And it just works, okay? So it just works when we put in a LinkedIn URL here, it's gonna populate here, okay? And let's just do it now real quick. Okay, so it just went and found literally a random person's LinkedIn, and I'm gonna throw it in here, hit extract, and now it's going. So now it's processing. So we jump over to the Clay table. You should see here we have Johnny Smith in here. Okay, we'll open up the API calls. Forager, this API call has found his email, and already the validator has validated it. And the cool part about these API calls is that these tables run on a condition. So it's saying if there is a valid email found in this cell, don't continue. You don't need to run all those other API calls. Push this email to this last one here, and then now we should see Johnny's email here. It's done. Very cool, right? And so from the user's perspective, they just they throw in a LinkedIn URL of a person they're trying to find an extra email for, so that they can, email them and ask for a job, or market to them. Obviously do your own legal due diligence. I'm not your lawyer, and you know, you accept all liabilities for however you use this. Um, but I presume you're going to use it for good purposes. Okay. Um, yeah, and you can refresh, and it will show them here. Okay, cool. So how? Again, a lot of lovable prompting, a lot of headaches. Not that many though, but a lot of going, oh my god. But a lot of the time me going, wow, that actually just worked in one shot, which is pretty crazy. Um, Now I will say that you will, if you're gonna do this um, and do this process, I would really highly recommend the SmythOS tutorials that we are having for you guys to watch, because that was really helpful in this process. Because yeah, because before this, hang on. Okay, so yeah, but before this parts that I just showed you, I started here. So I like to organize my tabs like this by thinking process from left to right. But I started like this. This was the original idea, and it's really important. So I'm glad you're still watching, that you do this work in here. And so if I just, again, you can see the size of this this bar here, because there's iterations and refinements. Okay, so we're not going to go over all of this, but I'm basically refining the idea. It started out as one thing, it sort of morphed into a slightly different version of it, and then from that, then I went and said, okay, I pasted into Lovable and said, all right, let's begin. This is really important because it really cuts down the frustration. I think I used 150 Lovable credits or so. I think it costs about $30. If I hired a team, could have easily costed 100x. Okay, so at least 3,000. I mean, but if I didn't do this process in here and I just like went straight into Lovable, I could have easily used 300 credits, double, at least. Okay, so have patience. Work in here first. Get your idea solid, then put in Lovable. And you could start with the backend also. So we have this spot here, and then, but yeah, really you should be working here first, and then do your backend. So you know what you want to do, and then you go, okay, now you need to set up the backend, and this was the first feature. Now the second feature is with SmythOS. Here's my agent, and it's an email sending tool. And how did I do this part? It's just to send an email. So the API endpoint, you have in here the app is email sender. So we can take our email that we got, put it in here. The from is fixed, and then we have subject message. So you have 4 inputs, right? It's gonna pass 4 inputs. It's really 3 for the user. This is just experimental. Like I just wanted to test to see how this works, honestly. But inside the agent here, you have the endpoint for send email. That obviously, once I click here, it's going to call this, right? And you have these parts here, the safety validator, because I want to make sure that I control who's sending stuff, through my domain. It's got to be text only. It's got to be safe. And it's pretty interesting how this all works out. Let's see. So you have this prompt. You can pause it, see it if you want, and then oops. Oh, that doesn't matter. And then it's just thank you for that. Then it's just a classifier. True, false. Should we allow it to send or not? And then it sends. And then this is another API call, right? So this was ready. Okay, this was ready. And then it said, okay, now I'm going to blast it into Lovable, set up my features, set up my API calls. Yeah, it's just a back and forth then. And there's a lot of CSS updates, changing the logo, making sure that these edge functions work. Really just use critical thinking, just use logic. And also, I did also benefit from we also have this Discord chat in here where you can ask a lot of questions, and we have multiple SmythOS team members that we're helping, so it's very cool. So you can ask questions in here if you're stuck. But really, like, don't forget you have Lovable, you have all these AI models that you can ask a lot of like interesting questions. And obviously, if you're not using Lovable, you have Bolt or Replit or whatever else you're using. Or if you're a developer, you have Cursor, Windsurf, etc. But to use SmythOS as the backend is a very interesting. Debugging is great. It's just very powerful. Okay, and what else? We used this integration here, resend, to manage sending the emails. Yeah, and I think that's it. So here you go to this URL here, and sign up. And we're excited to see your submissions. All right. Lastly, there's the final video on this page. If you there's two other videos. The very quick overview on what this app does, and then you have a long video that shows me struggling to build. So if you watch those, enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.